So here's how we get the upper cabinets in the right place. As we talked about a little bit earlier, we measured up from this up 18 inches. Actually, we measured up 20 inches, okay? Because 18 inches, or how high you want your uppers from your lowers, but I'm going to put in about 2-inch thick countertops here. I'm going to have 3/4 of an inch subfloor, then I'm going to have a 1/2 inch backer board, then we're going to have about a 1/2 inch of tile. So it's going to be pretty close to about 2 inches. So we came up 20 inches to make up for the thickness of this countertop right here. So came up, marked a spot, grabbed my line right here, chalk line, held the 2 spots, snap a line on the wall, put the board on, made sure the board just covered up the line a little bit so you really can't see it right here. And then we put the level on it, which we showed you before. This is just a 6-foot level, just to make sure that we covered all the area. This thing is dead on right there, so we know when these cabinets go up, they're going to be nice and straight. Now there's a problem if you put your cabinet wrong in the first place. Now think about it, is this cabinet is sitting up here. If this cabinet is at a little bit of an angle, you know, if it's turned a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, what happens is the next cabinet has to go on, and the next cabinet has to stay even with the bottom of that as you run down the wall with cabinets. Well, the problem is, because you're connecting all of these cabinets together, you end up dropping your square. You end up with something that'll start going uphill. Same thing happens with these lowers. If you take one of these lower cabinets and it's turned a little bit and you're trying to keep these things level, you end up going uphill. And we actually did it on this one here a little bit, but it was to keep it level across these 2 cabinets right here. And this floor, this house was built in 1950 something, 60, I don't know. The floor, even after we got the floor as level as we could, still goes down about 3/8 of an inch between that side over there and the other side over here. So be careful. Make sure every cabinet you put on is touching this right here, and it doesn't go uphill and it's not at an angle. Okay? Like I said, if it is, you'll end up putting 6-8 feet of cabinet in, and those cabinets are end up going uphill. So that's why I like to put a board. The reason this board's sticking out a little bit is because we still had some power and stuff behind the wall that in the wall that's pushing it out. Okay, so that's your cabinet. Now I have a dilemma, and I'll show you what that. We want the small cabinets on the inside here, and I want to put the small cabinets here and here, and then we want to put the bigger cabinet here. Got to cut out a spot up here for the plug. We don't use microwaves, so this is actually for a microwave to be inside the cabinet. We're going to put it in because most people use them. But what I could also use is plug this in, and it'll be some under cabinet lighting, something like that. Okay. Now, if we had a corner cabinet sitting in here, I'd be able to take and screw this cabinet off to the corner cabinet in the case we don't have any studs in the wall. Well, guess what? This first cabinet here doesn't have any studs in the wall, and this cabinet here only has some studs that are about here. Now I tried to pull it as best I could, and you can see it still has a little bit of wiggle in it. Didn't work, so we're going to have to take this guy down, and we're going to have to build something back into the wall. If I can find a pencil here, the cabinet is going to be somewhere in here, okay, sitting up on the wall. That's going to be the cabinet. Well, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to cut a section of sheetrock out from behind the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and slip a piece of wood in here, and I'm going to try to take that wood, get it sideways somehow, and put up. And then what I'll do is, I know my 2x4 is here, and I know 2x4 is here. I also know that they're 24 inches apart, so I know how big to make the wood. And then I'll come through with a screw either that direction or that direction, and I'll try to secure a piece of wood here. and secure a piece of wood here inside the wall that will allow me to tie this cabinet onto. Now, if I can't get one piece across, because turning this is going to be really difficult, what I might end up doing is putting something like that. I might put one piece in here, push it up against, and then take and screw it off, and it'll probably be a little bit longer. And then take another piece here, screw it off to the other side, and then take my screw gun, put a couple screws between those guys. And remember, we're using these 3-inch screws here, okay? So they're definitely going to go through all of these pieces of wood, these blocks of wood. I won't call these 2x4s. I'll show you why. Because when I build, I like to build as inexpensively as possible. So what I do is go to the home store, and this wood has that groove in the bottom of it right there. And that's where these two boards will sit underneath some wood in the home store, and then the straps run through the ends of the boards right there. And you'll see these sitting underneath. You'll see people carrying them out of the store. They're free. They throw thousands of these out every day at Home Depot, Lowe's, and any lumber yard that you see. So what I do is I go and grab them. Last night I think we grabbed about 30 of them, something like that. We looked on the back of the forklift. They were all piled up. Grabbed them all, threw them in the car, got them in the car now. When I do a lot of building and a lot of blocking, say I need a piece of wood across, like the back of the shower. When you mount the shower head, you need a piece of wood across there. Well, don't grab a 2x4 because those things are, expensive. Got to pay money for them. Grab one of these things. They're just as thick as a 2x4. They're just not usually as wide. And some of them are actually wider. I think I've got, I don't know what I did with it. We had one around here that thing was, it was almost 4 inches by 3 inches. The thing was almost a 4x4. So that's what I use a lot for my blocking. And you can see I used one up against the wall right here. Used one right here. I used them all down in here. That's what I like to get. Like I said, when you need sheetrock blocking, you need something behind something to screw it off. Grab these things. They're free. Take them. Don't let them put them in the. You got your cabinet sitting here. You can set your cabinet on it, push it up on the wall, and it's held. That's why one person could hang cabinets. The uppers. You don't need 2 people to do this. Just as long as you can pick the cabinet up and get it up here, and then open the cabinet up, put a couple of screws in the back, and you're ready to go. You can see this thing even stayed there by itself. Well, of course the cabinet will fall, but so the next thing is I'm going to take this down, cut a hole in the wall here, cut a hole in the wall here, try to get some 2x4s in here that support this, and then I'll have something to screw my cabinet off to. So we got really, really lucky here. This corner, this happens to be a corner in the bathroom for the shower. So this piece of wood is actually a stud that goes from floor to ceiling. It's sitting here up against another stud that the sheetrock came to and screwed off. So I'm actually going to use a 2x4 because I want to make sure I have something that's consistent after talking about all that blocking, but I want to make sure I have something that's consistent in thickness. So what I did was I put this here, I measured this, and if I put a shim about that far apart, make it a little bit tighter, up against here and secure it, okay, let's get it secured. Okay. Now, I don't want to take that shim and I don't want to put a nail through it here because I'm using 2.5-inch. I'm using 2.5-inch nails in this gun. So they're so long that they'll go through the 2x4 and they'll go through the sheetrock and into my tiling on the back side right there. So that's why I put it at an angle towards the other 2x4. So that's held up. I don't have the screw gun with me right now, but I'm going to go get it outside. And it looks like what I should be able to do then is slip a 2x4 in here, turn it sideways, okay, and I wonder if that is bigger than the stud. No, it's not, so we're good. Is anything blocking me? No, blocking. So we should be able to put a 2x4 right there. When I put two 3-inch screws in that 2x4, it's not going anywhere. And then I'll put another one back down here and we'll be good. Now, this cabinet over here is not being held up except by here, that one. I'm not going to get as lucky because this is an exterior wall right here. So this cabinet's going to come down and I'm going to have to put a 2x4 from stud to stud behind it. But as far as this one is concerned here, we got really lucky, had that piece of wood. So that's how I'm going to secure that, put the cabinet up, good to go. Okay, getting ready to put this cabinet in. I'm going to put the blocker in the wall with the 3-inch screws. Just as long as this is past the edges of the cabinet, there's something to screw into, and hopefully don't drop it down in the wall. Okay. There we go. That's in. I'm going to mark here where that stud is. Screwed off. Higher. And this line is good right there. It's a little bit lower. Okay. Now let's get the cabinet up here. This cabinet can go either direction depending on which way you want the door to open. We decided we wanted to open like that to match the one at the bottom. Simply just take it, put it on the bottom here, hold it up. Line it up with the line there. And it's that simple. One cabinet. Now we'll just put the other cabinet next to it. Screw it in, and all these uppers will be done. It's just that simple. Okay, so this is looking down at the walls that we did for the cabinets. You can see the structure. Remember, this right here is going to be where the kick plate comes in, and that's about it. Just ran a couple around the edges there, and then a little bit more on that wall over there. Okay. So, what I did was of course we had to put my name and my son's name in here under the cabinets. So I went ahead, removed these two screws that we had here. Mind you, these are the screws we've been building most everything with. They have that star head, that's the type of bit it takes. These are great. Okay, and this cabinet right here is loose. See, it wiggles a little bit. We haven't attached these two boards yet, and I'm just going to tack one a little bit in there, so this could float a little bit. So what I want to do is try to get this into here. So let's see if this will actually work. So now the reason I'm putting these so close to the edge is I don't have much. This board only comes to about here to get into. So I'm hoping these two guys will pull and push this board over. And at the same time, what I'm going to do is, if this works, I think I tried it once. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I had to do something to help me pull. And that is putting all this pressure right on this corner right here, and nothing's moving at all. So that, tighten that up. That's how we're going to do it with one person. I hope this all works. And because I have a star bit, this is very simple to screw in. I just hope that 2x4 doesn't go away on me. You can keep walking. Let's see. Nothing. Perfect. Perfect. Of course, you can never have too many screws, right? You can see these stars are so simple that left-handed, I can pull that down into the wood without even any effort at all. Best bits. Okay, so that got this corner fixed. No, there's no movement anywhere. This is just rock solid. You could probably park a tank on this countertop right now without having an issue.